Tu Diep's new home is no longer safe. Over the quiet countryside, dark clouds loomed, heavy with a sense of foreboding. Without warning, the rain poured down, fierce and unrelenting, as if trying to wash away every last trace of warmth left by the fading sunset. In that dim light, Tu Diep stood silently by the window, a small figure clutching her phone, eyes wide in terror. A call from an unknown number, a voice on the other end, cold, contemptuous, and chilling. They didn't have to say much. Each word sliced through her like a knife. They knew who she was. They knew where she was. And most terrifying of all, they knew about the child. The phone slipped from her trembling hand. Her face drained of color, lips parted in shock, but no sound came out. The peaceful haven James had poured his heart into building, filled with dreams of warmth and safety, had just been shattered. The nightmare was back. Far away in the bustling city, James, once a cold and calculating CEO, now a devoted husband and father, was in the middle of finalizing a major contract. It was a deal that could pull his company back from the brink of collapse. But just then, a single message lit up his phone screen. "They've found her." James froze. His world tilted. Who? How? How had someone tracked down the place he had hidden his wife and daughter? And more importantly, what did they want? In that moment, no contract, no number, no amount of business gain could matter. Only one thing rang loud and clear in his mind. Protect the family. What will James do when the mastermind hiding in the shadows finally begins to step into the light? Can he reach the woman he loves and their innocent child in time before everything is lost? If your heart's pounding as fast as ours is while telling this story, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next heart-stopping twist. John, the sworn enemy, had long harbored a deep, festering hatred toward James's family. But James knew all too well. John was merely a pawn. Behind him lurked another hand, more dangerous, more calculated, and willing to sacrifice anyone to achieve its goal. "I won't let them touch my family," James whispered through clenched teeth, gripping the steering wheel tighter. The words echoed in his mind like a commandment. This was no longer a battle of contracts or boardrooms. It was a war of the heart, a fight for survival. Without hesitation, James called his most trusted assistant, ordering the car to be ready in 5 minutes. The black SUV sliced through the misty rain, racing toward the countryside where Diêp and their daughter were hiding. His heart was heavy. Every second that passed felt like a blade carving deeper into his fear. As the car sped past the wide rice fields nearing the little house, suddenly, a vehicle shot out from the bushes, blocking the road. James slammed the brakes. The tires screeched on the wet earth. Headlights cut through the rain as the door of the other vehicle slowly opened. A middle-aged man stepped out, elegant in stature but with eyes that hid a ruthless soul. He wore a wool hat, a long black trench coat, and his face, James recognized it instantly. It was John's father, the man behind it all. He smiled, slowly, smugly, cold as steel. "I've been waiting for you, James," punctual as always. His voice wasn't loud, but every word hit James like a hammer to the chest. James stepped out of the car, not in a rush, not shaken. Rain poured harder, wind swept across the fields, tugging at his shirt, but his eyes never wavered. "What game do you think you're playing?" James asked, his voice cold and tense. "Game? Oh no, this is a transaction. The man shrugged as if discussing a casual move in a chess match. "You touched my family." James took a step forward, his tone low and dangerous, "and I swear you will pay for it." The man smirked. "Family, the one thing that turns even the strongest man into a weakness. You can protect your company, or them, but not both. Choose, James." James clenched his fists, fury flickering in his gaze. But beneath that fire, a plan was already forming. He knew this man wanted to provoke him, to make him lose control. But James was no longer the man he once was. He wasn't just a CEO anymore. He was a husband, a father, and no one would threaten that. "I choose both," James said firmly, each word deliberate. Then he turned back to his car, leaving the man standing there in the dim yellow headlights and relentless rain. A vow had been carved into his soul. His family would never be harmed again. James settled into the car seat. The door slammed shut with a cold, final thud against the pounding rain. But inside his mind, another storm had begun to rage. A plan, clear, ruthless, and precise. "You picked the wrong man to challenge," James muttered, then turned to his assistant. "Activate Black Protocol 13. Call Huey. Tell him to proceed exactly as I instructed. And send the audio recording of that conversation to the lawyer." The assistant nodded immediately, asking no questions. He knew. When James said Black 13, it meant the counterattack had officially begun. James had always prepared a contingency plan in case Diep's hideout was compromised. From the beginning, he never left her completely unprotected. Hidden in the garden behind the house was a discreet camera and a motion-triggered alarm buried deep under the mango tree. If anyone unfamiliar came within 100 meters of the property, it would activate a chain response. And now, the system had already signaled a covert security team stationed in a nearby town. 2 unmarked, lightly armed vehicles began heading toward the house with a single order: escort Diêp and the child to Safe Zone 9. Leave no trace. While John and his father believed they were 1 step ahead, James was already 3 steps further. As for the company, James had never truly trusted the 50-ton timber deal from the beginning. So, the moment he received the suspicious offer, he had his people embed a tracker in the sample shipment. Simultaneously, he began working with a group of undercover investigative journalists, ready to expose any dirty dealings. Through a bait contract, James pretended to agree to purchase a small portion of the wood, just enough for John and his father to believe their plan was working. But no one anticipated that the very night the timber arrived at the warehouse, a task force would storm in, cameras rolling, backed by arrest warrants from the Economic Crime Bureau. In a single night, their network of counterfeit timber trading, money laundering, and bribery was exposed. James knew John and his father were not the only masterminds behind it all, and he hadn't been idle all these years. A mysterious figure, once a business partner of John's father, had been quietly approached by James. In exchange for protection and a special deal, this man provided evidence, documents, and even audio recordings of private meetings between John, his father, and a high-level figure from the international trade world. James handed it all over to his lawyer and scheduled a national press conference. When he stepped up to the podium, camera lights flashed around him. He didn't give a speech. He simply played a short video. In it, the voices of John's father and the shadowy accomplice discussing how to handle James and his family. The media exploded. Eventually, in a small villa nestled in the foothills, James opened the door and stepped inside, where Diêp and their daughter sat by the fireplace. She stood up quickly, eyes red and teary. Before she could say a word, James wrapped her in a tight embrace. "You and our daughter are safe. That's all that matters," James whispered. "I'll take care of the rest." Outside the window, the rain had stopped. The sky was clearing. A new beginning had arrived. No longer a story of hiding, but of rebirth. In the journey of James and Diêp, we witness not just a love story, but a powerful reminder of what true commitment really means. It's not measured by sweet promises or picture-perfect moments, but by the choices we make when the world around us begins to fall apart. Commitment isn't about staying by someone's side when everything is smooth, when smiles come easily, and the road ahead is bathed in sunshine. True commitment is choosing to hold their hand, even when everything around you is crumbling. When the darkness creeps in, when danger lurks, when your heart starts to tremble, you still choose to stay, to love, to protect. James didn't turn away when the storms rolled in. He didn't hesitate in the face of enemies, of conspiracies, of the dark forces that tried to destroy the fragile family he fought so hard to protect. He didn't abandon Diêp, didn't choose the easier, safer path. Instead, he walked straight into the fire, not because he wasn't afraid, but because his love was greater than his fear. He didn't need to be a hero in the eyes of the world. He only needed to be the safe haven in the lives of Diêp and their daughter. And that he became. Because sometimes the greatest strength of a man doesn't lie in what he owns, but in his ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, and to never let go of the one he loves, even if it means risking everything. And in that moment, when James held Diêp tightly in his arms, inside that small, quiet home, we understood this truth, that love, when it is deep enough and brave enough, can become the only light guiding us through the darkest days.
Trong hành trình của James và Diệp, chúng ta không chỉ chứng kiến một câu chuyện tình yêu, mà còn là lời nhắc nhở về bản thân, bản chất sự thật của sự cam kết. Thứ không được đo bằng những lời hứa đẹp đẽ hay khoảng khắc êm đềm, mà bằng lựa chọn mà ta đưa ra khi thế giới bắt đầu rạn nứt. Sự cam kết không phải là bên ai đó khi mọi thứ suôn sẻ, khi nụ cười dễ dàng nở trên môi và con đường trước mắt trải đầy ánh nắng. Sự cam kết thực sự là khi ta chọn nắm lấy bàn tay người ấy, ngay cả khi mọi thứ xung quanh đang sụp đổ, khi bóng tối kéo đến, khi hiểm nguy rình rập, khi con tim bắt đầu run rẩy, ta vẫn chọn ở lại, vẫn chọn yêu thương, vẫn chọn bảo vệ. James đã không quay lưng khi bão giông ập đến. Anh không do dự khi phải đối mặt với kẻ thù, với những âm mưu, với cả hệ thống quyền lực đen tối muốn đánh sập gia đình nhỏ bé mà anh đã cố gắng gìn giữ. Anh không bỏ rơi Diệp, không chọn sự an toàn dễ dàng. Trái lại, anh bước thẳng về phía nguy hiểm. Không phải vì anh sợ hãi, mà vì tình yêu của anh đủ sâu, đủ lớn để vượt qua mọi thứ, mọi nỗi sợ. Anh không cần phải là một người anh hùng trong thế giới. Anh chỉ cần là nơi an toàn duy nhất trong cuộc đời của Diệp và con gái. Và điều đó anh đã làm được.